All right, good morning, everybody. We are out. It's quite early. I'm trying to catch the cooler morning temperatures. I mean, if there's such a thing here. Actually, it's still pretty warm, but in the day, it's about 35 degrees Celsius. So for you Americans, that's what, times 1.8 plus 32. That's 500 Fahrenheit you have to deal with in the middle of the day. So it's way better to be out now. I've been a little bit targeted by a pack of dogs. They seem to be a little bit concerned with my presence, especially the camera seems to upset them, but I did some of my dog whispering and they seem to have calmed down for now. So we'll see. Not all of us have perfect pitch. Sadly. I mean, as musicians, most of us probably have wished that we did at one point or another, but if you don't have it, you don't have it, and you'll have to deal with it. I mean, some people claim that you can learn perfect pitch even in your later years. I think that's BS, sadly, but what about relative pitch? Can we learn to listen to a song and name each chord as it's playing, along with every note the singer is singing, if we know the key of the song? Is there some glimmer of hope there? And yes, there is actually. So 5 years ago, I'd probably say, nah, it's not possible. It's not possible to learn relative pitch that well. Like, if you're born with bad relative pitch, then you'll die with bad relative pitch, and that's it. Nobody will warn you. Maybe your fleas. And the reason was because I'd been training for 15 years. I mean, training. It's not like I quit school and denounced my family to do ear training 8 hours a day, but I did a normal amount of training. I didn't really get any. Most of it was like interval based. I think that's what you find online. And sure, I guess I got better at learning to hear intervals, but that's not what I wanted. My goal was to be able to hear the chords in a song or hear notes when somebody's playing them. And yeah, didn't get any closer to that. There's a lot of cars going by. Hope you can hear me anyway. But then I stumbled upon this one method that was just a complete game changer. Crazy progress in like 6 months. And I'll tell you about that method, but in a different video. So subscribe and all that, But for now, let's try something a little bit more simple, a little bit more foundation. All right, let's go. So as you can see, we keep teleporting around here a little bit. The light keeps changing as the sun is rising. So for now, we're going to start by learning how to recognize two chords. And this is kind of unrelated to the method that I just mentioned. This is just learning to recognize the distinct sound and character of these two chords. These are probably the two easiest chords to hear, and that's why they make sense to start with. And the first one is the fifth major chord in a minor scale, also called the dominant chord. In A minor, this would be E major, for example. In C minor, it would be G major. In A flat minor, it would be E flat major. From now on, I'll just talk about everything in terms of A minor, because it just makes everything easier. So given that, the first chord that you need to learn to recognize is E major. And it sounds something like this. So we got A minor first, and then E major. Yeah, it sounds a little bit like a minor chord, right? Even though it's a major chord. So listen again. Let's say A minor, C major, E major. Now, we took a different path to the E major now, which maybe makes it sound a little bit different. But the key point here is that when you start recognizing the sound of this chord within A minor, doesn't really matter how you get there. This chord's obviously in a lot of songs. Let's find some examples. This Land from The Lion King. Yeah, so there it serves sort of like the last chord in a chord progression, which is quite common, like before you go back to the tonic A minor. We have a very common chord progression is like A minor, G major, F major, E major, like in Happy Together with the Turtles.
Invest a dime, and you say you belong to me. Ease my mind, imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together.
And same there, it's like the last chord of the progression, moving on to the tonic again after that, A minor, and again, it has this sort of like minor feel, just desperately wants to resolve to the tonic. We have other songs where it's not quite used in that way. For example, Dancing Queen, where it's used more like a transition chord, so. There it's used a little bit differently, but it still has the same sort of in-your-face kind of minor majory sound. And I'm pretty sure that you will definitely be able to recognize this chord no matter the inversion and no matter where it is. And how do you practice it? From now on, just listen to music more carefully. So try to look out for this E major chord. All right, so here's a little exercise. I'll play you some music, and I want you to listen and try to identify the E major chord when it occurs. Actually, I'll throw it in twice, all right? Don't close your eyes, because I'll just take the camera, and while you're listening, I'll walk around and see if I can find some nice shots. It's a beautiful morning, after all. Maybe I can find those dogs and, you know, have some peace offering, give them a banana or something. All right, so listen out, try to hear the E majors. Could you spot the chords? It's a little bit trickier, right? It's not that easy now, is it? Maybe it's easy for you. Maybe you have perfect pitch. Why are you even watching this video? If you don't though, and if you found it like intermediate hard, that's great. Now let's move on to the next chord. I think you're ready for it. Let's move to a major scale. So now we're in C major. Then we're talking about F minor. So it's the fourth minor chord in a major scale. It has a very distinct sound. Let's listen. So C major sounds like this. And then the F minor. Yeah, it's like hard to describe. It's a little bit melancholic, sad. You'll recognize it by the fact that it doesn't quite sound like a standard minor chord in the scale. So it's not A minor, it's not E minor, it's not D minor, because those have more like a normal sound. This one is a little bit more finesse to it. So let's try another one. Let's try C major to F major to F minor. That's a very common kind of progression, that you go to the F major and then drop down to the F minor. There are a lot of songs that have that progression. Reflection from the Disney movie Mulan. Mulan. Sounds a little something like this there.
Cannot hide who I am, though I've tried. When will my reflection show who I am inside?
Yeah, so it actually comes in twice there. It's beautiful. A little bit hard to hear. A little bit hard to hear in these Disney movies. They have so many instruments going on and they don't really play the like bass notes all the time, so it's a little bit trickier to hear. Another very famous song though that uses it is Bohemian Rhapsody. This part.
Not back again this time tomorrow. Carry on, as if nothing really matters.
And there is very distinct. This is maybe the best song to practice listening for it, because it's so like clear, it comes out of nowhere. Another example is I Will Follow You Into the Dark by Death Cab for Cutie.
If there's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow you into the dark.
Yeah, there they also go from F major to F minor. Actually, it's F minor 6 there, which is a very common thing to add. You add the 6th note to give it even more of this kind of melancholic sort of... The feel I'm getting is a little bit like oldie-timey feel. Let's try again. I'll play you a song. Try to see if you can hear when the F minor occurs, all right? And I'll grab the camera and walk around a bit again. Alright, so what do you think? Which is harder, F minor or E major? To me, it depends a little bit on like the context and which song it is, but maybe E major is easier. Let me know in the comments, like, how hard was this for you? How easy is it? Ooh, look at the sun in the background with the palm tree. Let me get down on my knees here. Let me actually focus on it too. Wow, chat. Alright, so, you know, if you have perfect pitch, you can always leave a comment telling us how pathetic we are, us relativers. And yeah, if you like this, subscribe. I'll be doing videos like this where I'm standing around in places and talking about things. And I hope to see you next time.